Let's speak about cryptocurrencies from a little bit of a primal perspective. At the end of the day, we're all cave people, cavemen and women. We work based on a tribal mentality. At some point, we went from being hunter-gatherers to actually forming tribes and living in tiny villages. And the person who was elected as the leader would have been the tribal chief. Now, that person had the maximum amount of power. Cut to the 21st century. We are still living in a tribal society with modern rules. Therefore, our current tribal chiefs are our presidents of our countries, the prime ministers of our countries, and the governments in general are the tribal chief's office. The thing is, we're not in tribes that are built out of just 100 or 200 people now. It's populations of entire countries.
The tribes are scaling. Yeah.
Right? I'd love for you to add an angle of power dynamics within human society and use that explanation to lead into the need for decentralized systems.
I think the period where there was expansion, right? Humans were moving to new territories. They were exploring. They were establishing new societies. There was freedom in that world to establish new rules, run new experiments, try new things. And people who disagreed with the region they were in, the country they were in, the government that they were, under their jurisdiction, if they didn't like what their government was doing, they could move to the frontier. They could, in the U.S., you could go into the Wild West, right? You can stake out land yourself and build and be part of a new town and choose what ideology you want to match with. Now the world is explored, right? It's been saturated with humans. Every territory belongs to some government, and also we're hyper connected, right? So you can hear ideas from any other part of the world, but you can't always move to a frontier country, something new that's trying something experimental, because as countries get old, like anything that gets old, they tend to get slower. They tend to get more entrenched.
Less agile.
Less agile, exactly, yes. So there's this trend, over, let's say, the last 200 years, where we went from having Wild West to having, more civilization and more order. And, I think there's a frustration that comes from knowing that there are better places, knowing that there are people around the world that share your ideology, but not being able to just go and be with them and elect with your feet that's the ideology you want to support. So what decentralization gets you is it maps a community and a network, a technology around the world to the people that subscribe to a certain ideology, and it gives them something. And this is the important part, that is independent from any state or country. There hasn't been a technology or a product. Well, there are some examples. Seasteading, right? This idea that you can move into international waters, right? International waters don't belong to any one country. No one country can have jurisdiction over those waters. And so, there have been conversations about, we have cruise ships. They can hold hundreds of people. How many more can they hold? What if we're taking them not just for vacations, but to actually live on those international waters? Is that a way we could establish new countries, have a new Wild West, right? And, that idea is, I think, being explored. People have talked about building new floating cities, right? But what decentralization gives you is a digital version of something that exists outside of any one country's control. Right? Because and this is going back to what computers are running it, right? That's the physical presence. That's the place that you have to go with the $5 wrench. How many of those places do you have to go to stop the network, the tech?
You'll have to explain this.
So what I mean to say is, the bank, one person controls it. They set the rules, right? The network, 1,000 people control it.
A decentralized network.
Yeah, a decentralized network, 1,000 people control it. They all have to vote. More than 50% or more than 66% of them have to vote to change the rules.
Gotcha.
The $5 wrench problem is physically, what is the vulnerability to physical coercion, right? Who can come through the door and how many people do you have to go through their door to coerce them to change the rules of the game? In a decentralized network like Solana, like Bitcoin, there's thousands of those. You'd have to do it all at the same time. You'd have to go into thousands of homes in hundreds of jurisdictions and hold a wrench or a gun to, all of those people.
So a human being that has bought Bitcoin with their own real world money, they also gain a right to be a part of that massive network that can change its own rules?
Well, in a lot of crypto systems, owning assets of the network are part of how you vote, how you show your preference for how the system should work. In proof of stake systems, buying, owning, and staking is how you contribute to the security of the network. And it's often how governance works for the network, is it works in proportion to how much you own. But that itself is a rule that can be changed and that can be configured and set. So there are thousands of these networks that all have different configurations. In Solana, it's proof of stake.
Okay. I'm going to give you some very amateur inputs now.
Mm-hmm.
And this is again from the consumer perspective. I don't think most of the average Bitcoin investors, probably even globally, care about like all this stuff. While they should, because this is where the real world money is going. Which is why I'm trying to simplify this conversation as much as possible. The average human being is only concerned with the fact that the money will either grow or not grow.
Yeah.
People have also realized that, yes, there are certain cryptocurrencies that can be trusted, and there's a lot that can't be trusted as well. Which is why it's a difficult conversation to navigate. Because even while you speak, I have to constantly speak on behalf of the government. I'm trying to understand their perspective here as well. Hey, if you enjoyed today's clip, make sure you check out all the other clips we've uploaded on this channel. You'll find a clip related to almost every single topic as long as you're willing to search for it.